Order. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open Public Meetings Act statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Augusta, Branchville, Lafayette, and Sussex post offices. A notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, Star Ledger, and the clerk of the boroughs of Branchville and Sussex and the townships of Frankfort, Lafayette, and Wander. Mission statement. High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence. By fostering high standards of achievement, we prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. Roll call.
Mrs. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Radcliffe.
Here.
Mr. Dunn.
Here.
Mr. Keogh is not here. Mr. Miller is not here. Mr. Notaro.
Here.
Mr. Rowland.
Here.
Mr. Bealey.
Here.
Mr. Whiteque.
Here.
Dr. Ripley.
Here. Okay. Executive session. A motion will be made that the High Point Regional High School Board of Education enter executive session to provide an update on personnel, negotiations, and legal items which are exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussions held by the board which need not remain confidential will be public when appropriate. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session in the cafeteria annex at the conclusion of the executive session. I need a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Need a motion to return to public session?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We'll move on to the approval of minutes, the regular meeting minutes of October 17, 2017, and the executive session minutes of October 17, 2017. Any motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Keogh.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Rowland.
Yes.
Mr. Whiteque.
Yes.
Mr. Bealey.
Yes. We're going to be moving the public comments after our presentations because we have all the children here. So, Mr. Giordino, if you would do the introduction.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Ripley, members of the community. Tonight, this evening, we have two presentations for you by the High Point Performing Arts Department. We have our chamber singers, and as well as our wind ensemble, who are going to be performing our alma mater. So at this time, if I can direct you all to please move into the cafeteria for our presentation.
Are you recording? Okay, guys. Okay.
I'm on it. How are you? Good. Guess I'm going. Good evening, everyone. It is so great to be here with you. I am proud to introduce the High Point Chamber Singers of 2017-2018. We would like to begin by thanking you for these beautiful robes. These are our honor choir robes, and we have looked forward to getting new ones. Mainly these robes are worn by choral students who who represent High Point at various honors choirs at the county level, the region level, the state level, and the eastern level. So, and we've already had a couple of performances already where they were able to debut the robes. Beginning with county, we had, how many of you were in county chorus? Absolutely, and I want you to meet who they are real fast. Sammy Beatty, Anya Ferguson, Kenzie Bagat, Trinity Garatulli, Jordan Pauls, Benji Morrison, Matt Kors, Sam Orr, Tim Fortuna, Cindy Cope, Nicole Barchat, Abby Block, Nick Muir, Jonathan Kors, and Justin Van Warner. Congratulations, they were marvelous. So they got the chance to wear these robes representing High Point on the stage at Kittatinny on November 15th. After that, we also had several students represent High Point for all state chorus. They are Jordan Pauls, he's right near me. Jordan Pauls, Benji Morrison, Sam Orr, Kenzie Bagat. They got a chance to wear these robes in Atlantic City at the Convention Center and at NJPAC in Newark. So congratulations to them as well. Even more news, this upcoming February, we have 3 women that were selected to all-state treble choir. They will also be performing at PAC in Newark, and they are Sydney Cope, Chrissy Perez, and who am I missing? Oh, Sammy Beatty, because she's behind me. Here she is. Congratulations. So we are looking forward. We may see you throughout the holiday season. We kick off things on December 1st. We have quite the calendar in December, but we're really excited to sing our holiday music. And I'm very proud to tell you that we start off by traveling to New York City. I know many of you have heard, but we will be traveling to New York on December 1st. They were invited to take part in a concert that promotes the environment in a concert titled The Way of the Rain, and they will be performing at Carnegie Hall. So that is a wonderful honor, and we are so excited for the invitation. Certainly their talent beckoned the invitation, and we couldn't be prouder representing High Point. So I thought we thought it was a little too soon, Turkey Day hasn't happened, to actually start with a holiday song. But I thought we would choose something relevant, and because these are honor choir robes, I thought we would sing a piece that many of them just performed on November 15th as part of all county choir. It is called Homeward Bound. The opening solo is going to be performed by the ladies that represented High Point and County, and there will be a solo at the end by Samuel Orr.
Retracing
Chambers come on over. Last year we had the honor of debuting an alma mater for High Point by someone who certainly made High Point what it is today on the performing arts spectrum. And we were excited to sing the lyrics, but in his heart, very much a band director. So we are so excited that he is here this evening, and we would love to honor Warner Lutz. This is his band arrangement of our alma mater.
We're going to tune real quick, and then we'll actually play the alma mater. So what you'll hear first is just tuning. You don't have to applaud for that. I mean, you can. Talk just a little bit about this ensemble. This here is the High Point Wind Ensemble, which is a select group that we've taken from the concert band. So these students have all auditioned to be in this ensemble. It is brand new this year. When I started here 6 years ago, we only had the concert band, and through the growth of the program and the hard work and dedication of these students, we felt that this year we could provide this opportunity for them. So the Wind Ensemble performs more challenging music than the concert band would. We push them and with harder repertoire than we would the concert band. So these students here are kind of the creme de la creme of the band program. So we're very excited to not only premiere the alma mater that Mr. Lutz performed, but also premiere this ensemble as well. So without further ado, the alma mater. Again, it's wonderful when we get the opportunity to come here and be able to perform for you and just celebrate the arts. But thank you for all of your support. None of this could happen without you, and we so certainly appreciate it so much year after year. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Student Council, Elizabeth Posner, Speaker of the House, will update the board on the activities of the Student Council.
Hello everyone. Student Council recently just finished their volleyball tournament. There were 4 student teams and then 1 team of teachers who added to play. The winning team included Will Fry, Margaret Peterson, Trisha Peterson, Chad Maselli, Paul Fowler, and Kieran Ryan. We are now focusing on the holiday bazaar, and I have Thank you. On that sheet, you'll see that the dates for the holiday bazaar are the 8th and the 9th of December. One's on a Friday, one's on a Saturday. There'll be things like vendors and Santa. So, Santa. And we're also starting to focus on holiday decorating, and each grade is just starting to decorate teams, and then we move that towards the school dresses. Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to the HPEA. Ms. Erin Bang, the Secretary of the EA. The work date is on the
Can you skip number 9?
Oh, yeah, we're moving, I said we were moving that to after the presentations. That way, everybody,
But before the action item.
yes, before the action items, you will have a chance to speak, absolutely. I'm sorry, Ms. Bang. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. The Pass It Along organization led by social studies teacher Jackie Sutton has collected 93 coats so far for their annual community coat drive. This goal is to collect and donate more than last year's total of 107. Erin Myers is celebrating our honor sculpture students and the work that they do. She said there is nothing like sharing in a group meditation in the woods and reconnecting with nature through art. I am so proud to witness such fundamental learning and to work with students who show such interest, hard work, focus, and care. Here's a couple of pictures of the sculptures they made. Pass it down. From October 16th to the 31st, Mr. Aaron Berger coordinated part 1 of a successful exchange in which students from Waldorf Gymnasium High School near Heidelberg, Germany visited High Point High School. Students in Mr. Berger's German classes, as well as other students in the school, graciously hosted the German students and their 2 teachers. During these 2 weeks, the German students visited and took part in classes 2 days per week and experienced firsthand what it was like to live with an American family. On the first day of their visit, Mr. Berger coordinated a meet and greet time during unit lunch where students spent time getting to know one another and their respective cultures. Later during the following week, students and parents gathered for a potluck dinner, highlighting the wonderful 2 weeks of shared adventures. Both students and parents expressed how grateful they were for the opportunity to open their home and share in fantastic experiences that not only brought 2 cultures together, but also developed friendships that will last a lifetime. Lisa Hodgins, Heather Strout, and myself, and other staff members and student groups have been working on planning, promoting, and advertising our first ever High Point Holiday Bazaar. This community-wide event held on December 8th from 3 to 7 p.m. and December 9th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. will feature a craft vendor fair, bake sale, snack bar, pictures with Santa, thanks to Brian Fuhr, music, kids activities, and holiday cheer for all. Please help us spread the word. There are still vendor slots available and countless ways to get involved. Also, if you would like a lawn sign for your yard or stack of flyers to help us advertise, please see me tonight. Aaron Baker shared with me that the Key Club, Science National Honor Society, and AP Environmental Science are collaborating on a fundraising project to purchase 1 or more water bottle filling stations. We are selling eco-vessel water bottles. He also took the AP Environmental Science students to plant 150 trees along Cascading Creek between the dog park and Woodburn Park on November 3rd. This is a repair and restoration project that they started last year. They worked with the Walpole River Watershed Management Group, who also provided instruction on invasive species, wetland restoration, and water quality. Also, his anatomy and physiology students traveled to Rutgers on Friday, November 17th to visit the Functional Human Anatomy Lab. After an introduction from the lab coordinator, students had the opportunity to work hands-on with male and female cadavers. They held organs, traced the paths of blood vessels through the body, experimented with muscle and tendon attachment and physiology, found and discussed an unusual tumor in the wall of the abdominal aorta, and looked at the internal consequences of pancreatic cancer on a variety of structures. Mr. Baker said, as a teacher, this was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had, and I think my students feel the same way. One of my students wrote a college essay over the weekend about the experience, and several others are now considering changing to the medical health field for their college plans or majors. Amy Finland, our media specialist, told me the virtual reality activity is set up and running in the media center. It has been met with great enthusiasm by our student body. As we move forward, we hope to make the VR experience an integral part of our classroom curriculum. Kevin Finland hosted an in-school field trip of 40 Media Tech students. A Google Hangout was set up with a professional editor and Edit Stocks founder Misha Tenenbaum. Misha Tenenbaum has logged over 5,000 hours of editing work on TV and film projects, including the FX series American Horror Story. The students that attended were offered an amazing opportunity to have to work with TV. And finally, Ed Blevins, Dave Rupert, and Paul Gardner, who volunteer with the Outdoor Recreation Program and in partnership with the Central Municipal Alliance, the Governor's Council on Drug Abuse and Alcoholism, and the New Jersey Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs, continues to offer a robust extracurricular program to our students. This program focuses on teaching lifelong healthy habits and hobbies, developing positive relationships with adult role models, and increasing resiliency in our youth. The most recent example was a 4-day expedition to the northern border of upstate New York to fish the Oswego River, a tributary of Lake Ontario. Students spent 2 weeks working with volunteer adult mentors from the High Point faculty to prepare, hear, learn essential skills, and plan the trip. They persevered through difficult conditions, including freezing rain squalls and a water level 5 times the normal level for this time of year. And all of their preparation was put to good use when they caught trophy-sized lake trout, steelhead trout, and trout. Here's some pictures. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Talman, items pertaining to the high school.
Thank you, Mr. Billy. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. First, I'd like to inform the board that the first market period has ended successfully already, amazing as that may be. Some nice fish here, so we should take a look at that. They said not a lot of fish, but they caught some big ones. But the report from the kids was, so I'll take that as good. The second market period has already begun, and we'll be looking at the mid-market period middle of December, so it goes faster this time. I forwarded on to the board, I don't know if you got this through Paul McAllister, but we had an insert in the paper recently. Insert in the paper for about 2 weeks ago, for everybody to see. This is a What's Your Anti-Drug contest that's run by the Center for Prevention and Counseling. Courtney Headley was one of 3 students selected from High Point, and she was chosen for her artwork and her statement on the cover. So that was a pretty prestigious honor for her to have that. And we met with her and spoke with her, as well as Ashley Dixon, Julia Feldman, who also were selected with their work. So congratulations to them. We just heard from the chamber singers, but we also had successful fall drama from Curry Savage, which was done a couple weeks ago as well, and we had a great turnout for that, and a very, very well done show if you didn't get a chance to see it. Congratulations to our own Mark Russell, who was recently selected as a 2017 New Jersey Exemplary Secondary Teacher from the state of New Jersey. So Mr. Giordino and myself had nominated Mr. Russell last spring, and we just received the word a couple days ago that he was selected. So we surprised him in the Spanish honors class. He was quite surprised when we walked in there and gave him a certificate for that to happen. So congratulations to him. Just another reminder of the great staff we have in our school building every single day. There's prestigious awards giving out every year to our staff, and we're just very proud of them and what they do every single day. We completed our 8th grade tours on the 16th and 17th for Frankfurt, Susquehanna, Lafayette, and all the private schools. That went very, very well. A lot of positive feedback. They come in for about 2 hours. They can tour the building, and they're all led by our student ambassadors and our peer counselors. So the students drive the train, and they show them what they do every day here at High Point High School. On January 8th, we have Montague coming, and then we have the 8th grade open house on January 11th. So we're looking forward to scheduling season, as we say, and getting ready to welcome the 8th graders into High Point as part of our transition program. You heard from Mrs. Riccardi about chamber singers being offered to go to Carnegie Hall. This is the second time that they have been invited to attend. We went 3 years ago as well, and that was a fantastic performance. This one's a little bit different performance. It's a little bit deeper. So we'll have more time that they're going to actually be on stage, but it's a lengthy process for them to get ready for that. We had a visit about a week and a half ago to Mr.
Yes, Mr.
by someone by the name of Mrs. Redford. You may recognize her last name. She was here at High Point, and Tim Janis, who is a producer as well and a director for the show. So they came, we sat in our auditorium. It was an unbelievable opportunity for our chamber singers, Dax that you just saw, sat with them, and was able to have an interactive discussion with them about what they want to perform at Carnegie Hall, and what their role would be in this call that they're doing. So it was really a nice chat, basically, that they had a couple hours to discuss with those individuals. So great opportunity for them. On the 5th, we have the Holiday Pops concert. A lot of holiday things coming up at 7 p.m. The Candlelight concert is on the 7th of December at 7 p.m. Both of those in the auditorium. We have what you call the Fill the Bus Food Drive. I think most of you are familiar with that. This is going to be our 7th year participating in that. It's a countywide event where we are asked by the county to participate, and we try to gather as much food as we can to fill our local food pantry. Last year, we were over 5,600 pounds. And as I said to our committee of students, we had about 20 students volunteer already to be part of the committee to drive this campaign for trying to end hunger. It's not about how much food that we gather. It's the fact that we're helping our neighbors out, our friends out, and some of our own family members that need this food on a regular basis. And they said, once again, the county office has reported that the need is larger this year than it was even last year. So those are things that we're involved with. Ms. Bank talked a little bit about the Pass It Along program. They're also going to be going down to Irvington, Augusta Preschool. It's called Tilly's Kids. That's going to be on December 19th. And they're going to be delivering hundreds of gifts. I think Mr. Fuhrer is going to make an arrangement at Santa Claus again.
And Mrs. Abrams will be Mrs. Claus.
And Mrs. Abrams is Mrs. Claus. It's a fantastic event. We take over 100 students down there, a lot of staff. We go down and visit the preschoolers, age 3 to 5, and we deliver gifts to them and have a little conversation with them and talk to them. And they then come back up to us in the spring, so it's a really nice partnership that they developed, led by Mrs. Sutton and Pass It Along. So as they say, it's the most wonderful time of the year right now, and that was just a little bit of a prelude to all the things that we have going on for the holiday season in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Any questions on that before I go into the athletic report? Is it okay if I go into the athletic report? You can see on the agenda that we just, this weekend, we had our 2 athletes recognized, senior Chad Vasili and junior Tyler Wingle. Chad was recognized last year as a Rising Stars for Destination Athletes held down at Rider University. This year he was actually selected as one of the top athletes and received a scholarship of $150 for his efforts on the football field. Already got a thank you note back from some of the parents. They said there was, I think, 50 schools that were down there, and there was only the High Point that was represented by the county. So great to have them there. Tyra was recognized as a Rising Star, which means she gets to come back again next year and see if she can have one of the scholarship grants for her, based on her outstanding achievements as well. Football finished the season with 7 wins and 3 losses, and they're second in the Patriot Red Division next to Sparta. Field hockey finished with a final record of 7-8-3, but they advanced to the state sectional semifinal and a great finish to their season. Cross country finished 9-0, girls 7-2, and the boys team won the Freedom Division this year as well. So a fantastic year for our cross country team overall. Boys soccer finished the season with a 5-10-1 record, and they fought hard all along the way. They had a lot of close games, a lot of 1-0s, a lot of 2-1s along the way. So a lot of life lessons going throughout that. Girls soccer finished the season with a record of 10-7. Girls tennis record of 9-6, so a great fall season for us. And we had first double team with Lauren English and Jordan Castro. They advanced to the second round of the NJSA tournament, and that was down in Milburn. And they lost to the eventual doubles champion at that round. So they said they had a great experience as long as they came back. They were all smiles, and they got shirts. They're really excited about that aspect of it too. We also just recognized last week, our nomination for Scholar Athlete, which would be Sawyer Penn. It was an awesome class to represent a very tough decision, and that will be represented, I believe, in March now, and also Pass It Along organizes and sponsors that event at Florida Farm. So great opportunities for our students to be involved in a lot of great things. Any questions?
Thank you.
There you go.
Mr. Busino.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Ripley, members of the community, I'm just going to update you on some of the curricular matters that have happened over the course of the last month, starting with our music program. As you saw, once again, I thank you on behalf of the Performing Arts Department for your support. We want to thank once again Mr. Lutz for writing the arrangement and having it printed for our students. So that was a great success. We saw our wind ensemble under the direction of Mr. Aslanian, assisted by Mr. Carroll, as well as our chamber singers under the direction of Mr. Teresa Riccardi, assisted by Dory Martin. And as Ms. Riccardi stated, that on December 1st, they get to perform at Carnegie Hall. And as we know, that is a prestigious honor for any musician to do that. So as Mr. Calumet said, this is their second time in 4 years. Artists wait lifetimes for that opportunity. Our students get to do it twice in 4 years. So think about that in terms of a program. On October 11th, we had about 650 students take the PSATs and the National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. So when we talk about taking this test, and we had all students between grades 9 through 12 take it, a couple great things to just inform the board is that, one, when students receive their score report, they are able to receive individualized instruction based on how they performed on the exam and link it through Khan Academy. That is a free service offered by College Board for taking that. So when students get their score report, they will have that opportunity to log on to their College Board account and see you scored really well in this area. In this area, you can have some improvement. So try doing these problems or try reading this passage. We also use the data from that report to help identify students who have AP potential. Perhaps a student didn't necessarily realize that they excel in world history, in calculus, or in science. So we use that data to figure that out and say, look, here's a great opportunity for you. If you want to take it, we offer it. And as an institution, we offer, I believe this year there are a total of 27 different AP tests. We pretty much have a student taking every single AP test aside from the world languages. So we have those opportunities here. We're very fortunate for that. And it's a great opportunity for students to begin that preparation process for the PSAT. They get to have their exam book back. They can look through it, make corrections, and figure it out. So I want to thank the staff as well. The staff was a huge help in making that day work well. Whenever you organize 650 students to do one thing at one time, you have a lot of different moving parts. You have 30 different classrooms. It really takes the support of the staff to make that happen, so I do thank them for that. The scores will be available to students on December 12th. So for any of you who have children in high school, look for that report coming out and be available. This afternoon, our students under Mrs. Gonzalez's AP Research class presented at Sussex County IRB, the Internal Review Board. So as students engaged in undergraduate research at the high school level, they are required and should go through the process of vetting their research, which is something that is done on any sort of graduate, undergraduate level. So our high school students are going through that opportunity right now. Last year we were one of 5 schools in the state to offer the full AP capstone experience. We are now one of 12, I believe. So it's still a very small number that have the opportunity to offer AP research to students and students to interact with college professors at Sussex County. Some have found members of the community to interact with and begin the research process. On November 4th, Jacqueline McCarthy, social studies teacher here at the high school, along with several other staff members, hosted an Ed Camp Humanities event. We had 25 staff members attend and participate, where teachers from all around the state, even Indiana. I remember sitting on a Skype. She flew in from Indiana trying to figure out the best places to stay around here. Participated in events which led humanities and technology. So we do thank Mrs. McCarthy for her work in that area, as well as the board for allowing us to use the building on that day. Thank you. One of the goals that was set out 5 years ago and prior to me coming to High Point was the publishing of the curriculum maps. And finally that day has come. So on our website, as you can see, if you click on the academics tab, curriculum, we have curriculum maps. Our maps are made public where anyone can view what is there. So it was part of the 5-year plan to roll them out. This is year 5, so we're making progress in that area. Our core classes are online. You can click on them and we can see how the units are laid out and the time frame that they exist on. our teachers are engaging in cross-curricular PLC school-wide. Our art teachers are environmental science, Mr. Baker, materials processing, Mr. Gonzalez, Mrs. Smith, her classes, Ms. Myers, and Ms. Hodgins have all come together for one big school-wide recycling project. And the goal is to educate students and the community about the importance of recycling, as well as build and create beautiful art. What you see on the right is a glass sculpture by Dale Chihuly, who visited Italy and learned his trade and has been making art ever since out of glass blowing. Our students are taking that through different grants which so far we received from the Sussex Washington community, and there's a sustainable one which we just applied for recently. Hopefully we'll get that as well. And our students are going to make something similar to what you see on the right, a different type of sculpture. That is made out of all plastic bottles. So that is our goal throughout this project, is to begin to create put recycling centers throughout the building and have different projects over them, near them, around them to bring attention to the importance of recycling. Veterans Day, we had several alumni come visit our students and speak to them. Here you have Sergeant Kanaka, Sergeant Shaw, Staff Sergeant Wolfinger, and I believe he's Sergeant Vaughn. Pictured here speaking to our students, organized by Mike Langan as part of our Veterans Day celebration. It's nice to have some of High Point's sons come home and share their experiences with our students, and our students were great in honoring them as well, and that was extremely important for them. And to have that close personal connection with someone who's from their community is an invaluable experience. As Ms. Bank pointed out, we had our German exchange in October, where staff members, students hosted students from Germany. And it's always a great experience when you have that cultural exchange, not only for the sheer practice of the language itself, but also to just listen to 15-year-olds from Germany talk to our 15-year-olds from Sussex County. And amazing that the similarities that they all have, and some of the differences that they have as well that are just these fun little points. So it was great to see, and I thank Mr. Berger for organizing that. It was a lot of work. There's a lot of work behind the scenes in order to orchestrate having a group from another country come visit your high school, and Mr. Talman was an integral part of that, and I thank him for that as well. Most recently, we've begun working on some curricular revisions, and the administrative team was hosted by Sussex Rural Electric to come and spend some time in the facility and work together to come up with some curricular revisions. As of right now, it's still very preliminary, so I can say our goals were to open up the scheduling process, allow more access and student choice. We were looking at career pathways and clusters, as well as CTE, career and technical education programs. So that was our goal for that time, and we will have an update further as we make more progress in our goal. AP night in December 13th, we welcome students, parents, the community to come to hear what High Point has to offer in terms of their advanced placement courses. As I said before, I believe the number is 27 that we happen to have available for students who are taking their test. So it's an informational session to understand why taking AP, is it right for me? Is this what I'm interested in? How many should I take? Should I take one? Should I take three? So that's an opportunity to meet different AP teachers, have that discussion, and hopefully we begin to open the access to all those courses more. And as Mr. Talman and Ms. Bang were saying, these are pictures from the 8th grade tours. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Any questions?
We will now move on to public comment on agenda items only. Before I read this, I want to state that this is for agenda items only. To the article in the paper yesterday, there is nothing on the agenda regarding anything of that nature. There's no addendum to anything of that nature. And it is not the intent of this board to make a motion at this table this evening regarding anything of that nature. So, that being said, public comments on agenda items only. Step to the podium, state your name and address. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open the public comment for agenda items only at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by me. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. Anyone like to be heard on agenda items only?
I have a quick question.
Yes,
The
Mr.
meeting's being recorded, are copies available of this meeting through Oprah?
It's placed on our website on the YouTube channel.
Are copies available at Oprah? I see no microphones.
It's public, it's on the YouTube channel, it's not.
Yeah, there's a microphone picking up. If an open request is made to the board, you know you can just direct somebody to that. There's also the ability to obtain copies as well. Correct.
Thanks.
Is that all, Mr. Chairman? That's it?
No, my comments, you just said they're not on the agenda.
Till later, right, till later on, then anyone.
No, you said there's going to be no discussion tonight on a new contractor or amended contract with Mr. Ripley.
That's exactly true. Thank you, Mr.
Just fire him. That will clarify.
I have a comment.
I can't see, sir, I can't see you, if you can stand up instead.
Yeah, very short one. About the Khan Academy, I've been a math teacher at high school and college level, and if the students were to use the internet to help their math, there are far better sites than the Khan Academy to use. Coolmath.com is excellent for just about any math from elementary to advanced, and purplemath.com is also excellent. And while the Khan Academy, he's a great mathematician, he is not a great teacher. And I'd just like to make that comment. So if anybody is interested, coolmath.com is an excellent one, the best. And purplemath.com is also excellent for students, if any of you have high school students.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Anyone else? There's no microphone, so
Okay, actually-
feel free to stand there.
Okay, Vicki Perez, Frankfurt. I was one of the lucky parents who was hosting a German exchange student, who actually we hosted two. We didn't have enough families who were volunteered to host two. It was a fantastic experience. My daughters both enjoyed it, and it definitely has, I think, opened, even though they've been to Germany before and they have traveled a lot, but I think just the exchange on having 20 German students here sitting at a football game and cheering on the Headland Wildcats was just a phenomenal experience. I know Mr. Berger will at some point, I'm sure, approach you all that we can do the exchange going the other way. So I hope you'll be open to listen how that might work and how beneficial it would be for our students to have the same welcoming experience as the German students have here. So thank you. Hopefully you guys keep that in mind.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to other business. There's nothing on the agenda. We'll move on to action items, Mrs. Anderson.
Curriculum and instruction. We have been given the faculty attendance rate for October, the student attendance rate for October, and the suspension report for October. I'm now going to move action items 4 through 10. It is recommended by the superintendent that we approve the harassment, intimidation, and bullying report for the period of October 17th, 2017 through November 21st, 2017. It is also recommended that we approve the professional development activities listed on the attachment A5, and that we approve the field trips listed on attachment A6 and A6A and A6B. It is recommended that the board approve the 2017-18 Uniform State Memorandum of Agreement between the Education and Law Enforcement officials and Article 16 Annual Review. Number 8 is recommended that we accept a grant from the New Jersey Child Assault Prevention CAP program valued at $3,500 for training our students. This grant will fund student self-defense training for all 9th grade students to be facilitated by the NJ CAP program conducted through the Health and Physical Education Department. Number 9, it is recommended that we accept the 2018 First Energy STEM Classroom Grant in the amount of $1,000. Mr. Guerrera was recently notified by First Energy that the grant was approved, and he will be using the donation to upgrade the electronics in his class. And finally, number 10, it is recommended the board approves Tackling the Tough Skills, a program for at-risk male students initiated and run by the Center for Prevention and Counseling located in Newton. The program will be conducted at High Point. It will run from December 4th through March 12th. Mr. Ed Levins will serve as the program liaison. This is an opportunity to provide further resources for the children of our community. The program is also in line with our vision for student well-being through our robust RTI program. Moving items 4 through 10.
Second, 4 through 10.
Any conversation, questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Rowland? Yes. Mr. Notaro? Yes. Mr. Keel?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyku?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes. Okay, we move on to personnel. Just for everybody, there is an addendum item for personnel, not containing the items for which I spoke. 2 items on the addendum. Mr. Dunn, if you'd be so kind.
Certainly. I'd like to move item 1. Personnel is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves it to terminate the employment of employee 1260 effective November 7th, 2017. Seek a second. Second. Any discussion? Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Keel?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyku?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to move then items 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the regular agenda, and items 6 and 7 on the addendum. Item 2 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves an extended leave of absence New Jersey family leave to employee 361 during the 2017-2018 school year. The date has yet to be determined. Item 3 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the substitutes listed below for the 2017-2018 school year as listed. Item 4 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the appointment of Amber McClellan as a co-op work-study student to work in the maintenance department during the 2017-2018 school year for 1.5 hours per day, Monday through Friday, at the rate of $8.44 per hour. Item 5 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the payment for substitute school nurses at the rate of $210 per day, effective November 15, 2017. Item 6, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the appointment of Samantha Guyrie as a part-time paraprofessional aide, step 5, $15.62 per hour, and paraprofessional 17-18 salary guide, 4 hours per day, 5 days per week, effective December 11, 2017, pending receipt of all required paperwork and criminal history. And item 7, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the appointment of Chelsea Wickier as a part-time paraprofessional aide, step 5, $15.62 per hour, and a paraprofessional 17-18 salary guide, 4 hours per day, 5 days per week, effective December 11, 2017, pending receipt of all required paperwork and criminal history review. Seeking a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on any of those items? Seeing none?
Mr. Keel?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyku?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes. Extracurricular, items 1 and 2. Recommended by the superintendent, the Board of Education accept with regret the resignation of the athletic coaches listed, Kevin Fenlon as the head soccer coach and Brian Emma as the assistant soccer coach. Number 2 is recommended by the superintendent that the board approve the following extracurricular appointments as listed. Seeking a motion.
Make a motion. Second.
Any discussion on 1 and 2?
Just like to wish the best to Mr. Fenlon in his future. When I first began coaching youth soccer, let's say over 10 years ago. He was already there. His fingerprints are on just about every soccer player in the area. And he had a remarkably successful program here, and I wish him the best. And certainly Mr. Emma was of great support to him.
Any other discussion?
I would too would like to say that good luck to Mr. Fenlon and Mr. Emma. They cannot be replaced because they had such an impact on the children of the program, and they were an asset to the district and an asset to the community.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Borky?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes. Policy, Mr. Dunn.
Certainly. I will remove items 1 through 3 in policy. Item 1 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves to abolish the following regulation, Regulation 7300.1, disposal of intellectual property. Item 2 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the first reading of the following new policies and regulations. Just read the titles of each: educational adequacy of capital projects, educational adequacy of capital projects regulation policy, site selection and acquisition regulation policy, and disposal of land regulation. And then item 3 is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the following revised policies and regulations. Services to non-public school students, long-range facilities planning regulation policy, disposition of property, disposition of personal property, disposition of federal property. Seeking a second on those items.
A second.
Any discussion on the policy items? None? Roll call.
Mr. Borky?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes. Okay, negotiations. I know the agenda says there are none, but for those of the EA members that are here, we did meet with Beth and Carla, and we set up a date for December to begin discussing your proposal. So, we will then move on to buildings and grounds.
Sure, I'd like to move item number 1 for buildings and grounds. It is recommended that the board approves Wantage Excavating Company Incorporated for a winter maintenance contract, which is outlined in attachment F1.
Second.
Discussion? Oh,
Mr. Miller?
yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Borky?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
I will abstain. We will now move on to finance. Mr. Rowland.
Right, under finance, I'd like to start by moving items 1 through 5. Item 1, it's recommended that the Board of Education accept the report of the Board Secretary, Business Administrator for the month of October 2017, attachment G1. Item 2, it's recommended that the Board of Education accepts the report of the Treasurer for the month of October 2017, attachment G2. Item 3, it's recommended that the Board approves the report of transfers, minimum expense transfer report for the month of October 2017, attachment G3A and G3B. Item 4 is recommended that the Board approves the payment of the attached audited bills dated November 21st, 2017, attachment G4. And item 5 is recommended that the Board accepts the accounts as listed for October 2017, attachment G5. Seeking a second.
Second, items 1 through 5. Any discussion?
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Borky?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Bealey?
Yes.
Now I'd like to move items 6 through 8. Item 6 is recommended that the board approve the comprehensive maintenance plan for 2017-18, attachment G6. Item 7 is recommended that the board approve the annual required maintenance budget worksheet M1 for 2017-18, attachment G7. And item number 8 is recommended that the board approve and place on file the comprehensive annual financial reports, the audit for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2017, and attachment G8.
Second.
Items 6 through 8. Any discussion?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankler?
Yes.
Mr. Mealy?
Yes.
Right, now I'd like to move items 9 through 11. Item 9 is it is recommended that the board approves the disposal, recycle of the technology equipment listed in attachment G9 for the reasons indicated. Item 10 is recommended that the board approves STEM humanities inventory reduction as listed in attachment G10. And item 11 is recommended that the board approves removal of the following items from the humanities inventory due to the fact that it is non-factory wiring harness. The item will be placed on GovDeals for auction. And it's the Vinci XYZ 3D printer. Okay. And number 11. You guys can read that. All right. Yep. Second. Through 11. 9 through 11. Any discussion?
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankler?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Mealy?
Yes.
Now I'd like to move items 12 through 15. Item 12 is to host the non-affiliated co-ed speed agility camp. William Costantino to run various Thursdays in January through March during the hours of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The camp will be self-supporting and will charge $15 per session. Item 13 is for some tuition contracts as listed. Item 14, be it resolved, the board approves the following tuition contracts between the following districts and High Point Regional and related information as listed. Item 15, be it resolved that the board approves a contract with PRNYPC to provide physical therapy services to students 71210, currently at the Windsor School at the rate of $90 per session once per week. Second. Any discussion?
I just want to say that this is one of the longest financial agenda items you've ever had to do, Charlie.
Yes.
Pretty impressed. It's almost as long as transportation.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankler?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Mealy?
Yes. Okay, transportation. Mr. Miller, you're looking
Okay. Moving over to transportation on items 1 through 7. Number 1 is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves to award the following to and from special education routes to the contractor with the lowest bid from bid number 2017-18-01, which was held on August 9, 2017, for the 2017-18 school year. That's by Stocker Bus Company with the route HPS-1703. Item number 2, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following to and from special education quoted route to the contractor with the only quote for the 2017-18 school year. That was by Nor Transportation, route number HPQ 1704. Item number 3, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following quoted contract for the trip for the 2017-18 school year. by Stocker Bus Company for field trip number Q11, Q12, Q14. Item number 4, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following joint transportation agreements for the 2017-18 school year. First is where High Point is the host, the joiner is Lafayette Township as listed. Second, where High Point is the host and Walkill Valley Regional is the joiner as listed. Next is where Vernon Township is the host, High Point Regional is the joiner as listed. Item number 5, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following joint transportation agreements for the 2017-18 school year as special education routes. Host is Northern Regional Ed Services Commission, and is the host, and joiner is High Point Regional High School as listed. Next is where High Point High School is the host, the joiner is the Walkill Valley Regional as listed. Next is where High Point Regional High School is the host, the joiner is Jersey City School District. Next, host is Northern Region Ed Services Commission, joiner is High Point Regional High School. Next again is the host is Northern Region Ed Services Commission, joiner is again High Point Regional High School. Next is High Point Regional High School is the host, the joiner is Walkill Valley Regional High School, again all as listed. Item number 6, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approve the following addendum to a contract for a special education route for the 2017-18 school year for the deletion of a bus aid and decrease in mileage to deletion of students. And that's by Stocker Bus Company, bid number 2017-18-01, group HPS 1703 under addendum 1. And lastly, item number 7, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following to and from special education quoted route to the contractor with the only quote for the 2017 school year. That's by Caravan Transportation. Route is HPQ 17-07 as listed. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Woodhue?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ankler?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Veely?
Yes. We'll move on to correspondence. We have none before us. Miscellaneous. Do you have anything? No miscellaneous. We'll move on to public comment. At this time, Steve, just step up, state your name and address. Public comments will be in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. We will open the public comments at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by me. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. Mr. Bush, do you have anything to add before we start, or just? No, I don't. All right. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Chris.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry to see you. Want to go?
No, you go ahead.
My name is Krista Thomas, and I live at 2 Elm Court in Montague. My daughter is a 7th grader at Montague Elementary School. I'm here to share my thoughts and concerns on recent actions by the High Point administration and the Board of Education. I have been very happy to see Glenn attending your meetings in the spirit of collaboration and partnership. As you all are acutely aware, Montague has not participated in this partnership since the inception of the contract. Now that we have a team of advocates with both the superintendent and the Board of Education president, I'm a bit disappointed about what I'm beginning to learn and uncover. It started with the first meeting where Glenn asked for a subcommittee. I emailed Kyle and was provided a response that I was satisfied with, as I was told some of the discussions were confidential. The following month, this board asked for a vote of confidence motion on the handling of Montague by Ripley. I emailed Kyle as I felt the vote was just odd, and to this day I have absolutely no idea what that means. But regardless, I felt it was an attack on Glenn, a negative comment towards Montague, and most important, had no context. It was very inappropriate. I did not receive a meaningful response back, so naturally red flags went up. Why did this board feel the need to publicly champion Ripley at Montague's expense? Since Since I was provided no information, I opened the emails between Capone and Ripley from Montague and Tasha DeGeorge did from High Point. I spent time going through them, and since I'm not an advocate of deflection or mixing emotions with facts, this is my observation based on the emails. The terms of the send-receive contract are not up for interpretation. If High Point didn't agree to the terms, then they should have redlined the contract and didn't sign it and changed it. You can't, years later, not adhere to them. You are not allowed to do that. And just because you are going down the path of making this an emotional and personal issue, it is not. It should not take 10 attempts to obtain information that you are legally required to provide to us. Stop the long emails about nothing, stating over and over how much you care about the kids in Montague. One would assume, Dr. Ripley, that if you've been in education for as long as you have, you care about the kids. The droning on is merely you trying to portray yourself as a victim versus sticking to the facts. Another red flag is how this Board of Education just jumped on a ridiculous vote of confidence motion. It appears that either you don't understand the terms of the contract or you're just misinformed about what's been occurring. I would recommend that before you stand behind something or someone, you take an unbiased look at the situation. It was very disappointing to see you all fall in line. I also want to call out that this Oprah request was pulled together by Ripley versus the gentleman that usually does it. Why the change in protocol? One could assume that this was done to be sure you saw what you wanted us to see. I'm pretty sure the taxpayers would not support paying the superintendent the salary they do to pull Oprah requests. I urge this administration to stop playing victim and just stick to the facts in terms of our contract. Nobody wants to take High Point away as an option for our kids in Montague. Turning this situation into anything more than what it is, Montague asking for information, part of our contract, is merely a distraction and deflection. Another theme that seems to be playing out is a lack of transparency from this administration. For example, there was an email from Capone to Ripley, titled Transparency, where several questions were asked. Are any of the questions ever going to be answered? Do I get another chance to get up
You
here?
can have a few more seconds.
Okay, I'm almost done. I'm wrapping up. You are bound by contract to respond. I also read in the Herald today that this administration is trying to extend Ripley's contract without holding a public hearing. Is that how business is done here at High Point? You make the rules, but you don't have to adhere to them? You are losing credibility and your integrity is now in question. As I started off, my daughter's a 7th grader in Montague, and I was ecstatic that she was going to be attending the school. But now this administration and board has cast a shadow of underhandedness and lack of transparency. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Mr. Dunleavy?
I had to prepare this a bit late because of computer problem and reading the paper a little bit late, and may be a little bit insulting. It's pretty short. It's pretty short. I'm speaking as a licensed teacher in mathematics and Spanish and a former school board president. I have perused and cogitated the leading article in today's New Jersey Herald regarding a salary increase for the superintendent, period. I find even the thought of increasing Superintendent Ripley's salary, comma, in the light of thousands of foreclosures in Sussex County, comma, to be scurrilous, period. There is also the perverse thought that this is being contemplated to obviate the new state salary guidelines coming into effect in 2018. People are leaving the county because of excess property taxes caused by the inordinate amount of local school boards, -26 and all, with bloated and overpaid administrations. I guess I'm sounding like a Republican instead of the Liberal Democrat. What purpose does Superintendent Ripley serve? Could the school operate fine without him with just a principal in charge? Well, comma, he has blacklisted me and claims he has negative information on me, comma, which he, his attorney, and his poorly educated board president, Mr. Veely, have refused to reveal, period. The school's record in the low-level PARCC test in mathematics was deplorable. To conclude, I hope the board will permanently forget about salary increases and/or the new contract for Superintendent Ripley and its inherited legal in Frankfort County. Thank you for your time.
If I could just speak for a second, presenting that to the board?
No, I'm
Or
just
just
reading.
coming away, okay, I don't want to interrupt you. So let me just, a couple of things that you said. First of all, the board is required to have a chief school administrator.
Sorry?
The board is required to have a chief school administrator, so the board has to have a superintendent of schools, that's the first thing. But I want to warn, I'm not speaking to anybody in particular, I can just tell the tone of the conversation here tonight. I want to warn members of the public against personal attacks, okay, on against any individual up here, all right? This is a public board meeting. I think I'm speaking on behalf of the board's attorney here to say that I think everybody's very interested in what everybody has to say, okay? And public comment is a very important part of this process of this meeting. But I want to make sure that nobody makes personal attacks, okay? Because everybody here has individual civil right to possibly take individual action in their own hand in the event that they were ever defamed. So I just want to make sure that's very clear, okay? I'm not speaking to you, I'm not speaking to the prior speaker, but just in general. Be aware it's a public meeting, we want to hear your comments, but just please be careful, okay?
Well, could I respond to what you said? Because I was a school board president, and
You have 1 minute left, Mr. Cohen.
yeah, I was so familiar with 18A that when a teacher was fired, I was the only board member that voted against it. It turned out it cost the board $250,000 in damages to the teacher that was fired, and all of the other board members did nothing at the time. I was the only one voted against it, $250,000 plus legal fees. They came in with that well-known attorney, George. George. Yes. Daggett, yes. And that shows I knew something about it. And if I want to make personal comments, maybe you should think about the comments that have been made to me with lies and other things about my record. And I've gone through my record here, and there isn't one thing on there negative, but yet they claim they have negative information on me. Are you Mr. McKeever, by the way?
No, I'm Jonathan Bush.
Yes, claim that they had something negative on me. Well, maybe it's because I go to church. Maybe it's because I go to
Mr.
church.
Finley, your 1 minute's up, you can wrap up just a few more seconds.
Well, I'm wrapped up,
Okay.
and I wish you wrapped up
Thank you,
too.
sir. Anyone else? All right, seeing none?
Nobody else is gonna go. Good evening, folks. You all know me, I'm Clint Plotsky, I'm president of the Monument Board. Came 2 months ago, asked about the possibility of an ad hoc committee. Have basically got a kind of a response from Mr. Dealey. Again, I'm imploring you guys, based on the information that I've seen and that I think you've seen as far as communications between our superintendents, their communication does not seem to be working. And I think it's in the interest of your students, and I certainly believe it's in the interest of my students, that there be communication, and that it be open and honest communication. When I initially came and asked about the ad hoc committee, I actually made the proposal that it be obviously no quorums, but just board members. Dr. Ripley apparently, based upon the response from President Feely, took great exception to that concept. So bring the superintendents in. I really don't care, but I think that there needs to be communication. Thank you for the efforts made to finally schedule an orientation for our 8th grade students. I think it could have been done earlier. It's a shame it wasn't, but thank you for the special date. I do appreciate that happening. I'm sure our 8th graders will have a good experience when they come. Thank you for the open house. I've taken notes about some of the other opportunities that appear to be presented here at High Point. Again, you know, I just want to be able to talk to somebody. That's all we're asking. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to say something. I too read the article. My name is Bob Heidner from Wantage. I too read the article today and was quite concerned. And I'm glad that, and I have to thank the board, that spirit has prevailed, and there isn't a discussion now, which I think it would kind of be a moot point, because after November 7th election, this board becomes a lame duck board, and really I don't believe that any actions you take beyond the day-to-day business of the school district at this time would be fair to the board that's going to be seated in January. I also would try to appeal to you folks. You made some major cuts earlier in the year. Some key educators and people are no longer here working, and we have to, in all areas of our life, with our municipal government, with our schools, with our federal government, we're asking everybody to do more with less, and we have to lead by example, and that goes right from the top to the bottom. So I appreciate that. But I read in the paper it didn't come to fruition tonight, and whoever had a hand in holding back on that, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so interesting point that you're raising with the lame duck board. You know, when school board elections were in April, right, and they were changed in November, there was an incentive provided where boards of education were given the incentive of not having to have its public vote on the budget in return for having the election in November as opposed to April. In the past, there was some case law, really dicta, which is when the judge gives an opinion on the side with respect to the question of whether or not a board can operate in a lame duck session. And when elections were in April and the reorganization meeting was 2 weeks later or so, I think you're correct. In fact, boards should not have acted then, and that would be considered a lame duck session. When the boards, not just this board, but other boards around the state, moved its elections to November, it's difficult to say that this 2-month period is a lame duck session. I'm not saying that there's no point at which you become lame ducks, but to tie you up with important decisions for the entire month of November, essentially, and the entire month of December, basically be 1/6 of the year where you can't operate as a school district. And so, just one second. While it's a fair point, and certainly something to consider because you do have another board coming in January, you are not a lame duck board yet, at least.
I understand the necessity to continue your day-to-day business. But when a contract that expires in June 30th of over a year from now, the necessity isn't here now to encumber a future board. And I have to disagree with your opinion. I just have to. I can't understand that. I could understand where we would have the necessity to hire a nurse if a nurse left. I understand if we have to hire a teacher in the classroom. But if somebody has a continuous contract, to reopen it and burden the future board, I really don't think that argument holds much water, to tell you the truth. That's just my personal opinion as a layperson.
Amber Simons Montage. I'm going to go off of what Bob said. I completely agree with him. I've been watching some of the events that have transpired over the last year, and first of all, I don't even understand why we would even propose to bring the superintendent's contract in, being that there's so much time left here. But watching the events that have transpired over the last year without going into attacks on personal, on people on the board, which I don't want to do. I've come to the educated conclusion that something's just not right here. Just the fact that this contract was there, it's gone, it disappeared. It seems like it's very shady. I've also been made aware that there's a board member who stepped down for the employment of an immediate family member and then returned back to the board and now is able to make decisions on, personnel issues that would directly affect their immediate family member. So I don't know if you have a nepotism policy in effect or what that is, but if that is the case, that's very concerning too, along with some other issues that I've seen gone on, in the past, I'd say year or so. And there's been talk of sharing services with other districts, and when we have these kind of issues going on, I find it very concerning that anyone would even contemplate sharing services with a district that has issues like this going on. And that's just my, thank you.
Yeah, so
She's still on the board up there.
Oh, I don't even know who it is, it's been just been
Yeah, I
brought to
know.
my
I
attention.
know.
He's gonna explain, it's okay, it's a good point.
So first of all, on nepotism policies, every single school district in the entire state of New Jersey is required by regulation, actually, 6A23A, to have a nepotism policy. So this board has a nepotism policy.
I know, I'm on board.
Oh, okay, all right, so you know, okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that while it has a nepotism policy, board members are prohibited from voting on matters as to which they have a personal interest. So to the extent that there is an allegation that a board member has a personal interest and are still voting, obviously that's a problem. But I don't know that you're necessarily saying that. You're just saying that the board violated its nepotism policy, which I don't imagine it has. I mean, I understand that obviously there's some hiring, excuse me, there was a vacancy on the board. Someone was filling the vacancy, but there's no violation that I know of the School Ethics Act, which is what I think you're
Well, I mean,
suggesting.
look at it from the eyes of the public. It doesn't look good at all.
That's a fair point. I'm just addressing
You know,
what
I mean,
just what
when
you
you
said.
have, regardless of whether, I don't know what your policy is, whether it was a violation or not, but just looking from the outside in, it's just, you know, I'm not talking about the elephant in the room now. We all know there's things in the newspaper lately. It's just adding fuel to the fire.
You're just describing the appearance, is what you're saying. I
Exactly.
understand.
So, you know, it doesn't look right. And if that's the case, then, you know, not only are you, all right, maybe you can't vote on that particular employee themselves, but you could vote, say, on terminating another employee that might affect that family member's employment.
Well, as a member of the board, you well know that the School Ethics Act is broad and all-encompassing. Sometimes it restricts acts that you can't even imagine as to why those acts are being restricted, so it's pretty all-encompassing.
All right, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to non-committee board member reports and comments. Anybody? Seeing none, we'll move on to other business. Mrs. Anderson.
Other business. We are going to have our annual holiday, I don't even know what to call it. It's not a luncheon. Snacks in the media center, cookies, sandwiches, punch. The board is happy to make this donation to the staff, and it's coming up. And I'm really not announcing it to the public as much as I'm telling you board members, you guys owe me some money, and I'll take care of it. I'll get in touch with you later. That will be happening. What's the date on that? Anybody know?
18th.
Thank you. December 18th, we'll be in the media center, eating and listening to Christmas and holiday music, and watching the Yule log burn on every screen available. It'll be fun.
What time is that?
1 to 3? 1 to 3. So, it's really fun. It's really nice.
Okay, any other business?
If I may, I know it's been a long night, one quick thing of business.
Sure, go ahead.
In the future, if the presenters could stand to the side, now for a year I've only heard about the presentations. I don't get to see them because they stand right there.
Absolutely. Next time we'll actually make sure we have a link in there.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Yeo. Anybody else? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.